This is the Baddies Book Club podcast
with Shay, or Slay if you nasty.
Natty B or Natty B Black if you bud. This is a book club for sad and emotionally unstable hoes who want to do better.
Every month, we'll review a book with you all, hearing your feedback and discussing topics from the book. On the other weeks, we'll be going through segments of Baddies Banter,
talking all things related to dating, relationships, love, sex, breakups, makeups, and therapy. Your favorite unqualified baddie therapist.
Ow.
All they wanna do is copy and paste, but you they can't replace.
Hey guys, Natty B here. Just jumping on here real quick to just kind of give a trigger warning for this upcoming episode. In this episode, we do talk about some challenging topics and conversations and share our experiences. And if this is in any way triggering to you, please by all means pause the podcast, take a moment, reflect, do what you need to do, cry or whatever, and then come back. We'll be here when you come back, girl. Get your tears out and come back and join us. But yeah, we just wanted to appreciate that some of our listeners found one of our episodes quite triggering. So it's just a little heads up. But I hope you enjoy this episode and we'll see you soon.
How are you? Don't, because I will.
we ain't starting the podcast crying. We can't do that. Okay, we got to keep it together until we have 100
I'm gonna cry
subscribers.
my pasta.
This week has just been weird. Yeah, so on Sunday I just wasn't having a good day at all. Kids were going mad, doing the most, and like, yeah, just days where you don't feel like 100%, and then your kids are just a lot. It can really just like tip you over the edge. So yeah, I reached out to a good friend of mine. Shout outs to her. And she was like, don't worry, I'll come pick up your kids. I'll have them for like an hour.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. And I laughed.
I think it's also worth mentioning, like, she also has 2 kids.
Yeah, sorry. She has 2 kids.
Yeah.
So
Similar
it wasn't
ages.
like, yeah, similar ages. So it wasn't too difficult. They just played together.
Play with each other, yeah.
Yeah, it probably helped her out massively as well. So
Yeah.
win-win for everyone. But the reason I'm laughing, because the next bit that happened, after it happened, I was like laughing because I was like, I'm going to talk about this on the podcast. So I'm there crying my eyes out, having a moment like, oh my gosh, my life is so shit, as you do. And then I was like,
I love that we all have the same voice within our heads. I'm like, my life is so shit, and you're like, my life is so shit. Same voice,
same person,
same accent. Oh my god, because we are the same person.
We are the same person. We have the same inner critic. That's weird.
My subconscious is your subconscious. Okay. Sorry, I cut you off.
That's fine. So yeah, I'm just like, my life is falling to pieces and blah blah blah, all that negative talk. I know it's so silly. In the moment, you're like, yeah. In the moment, you're like, yeah, it's true. It's true. My life is falling apart. So I'm crying. And one thing with me, I'm a crier. I like to cry in private. Like, you won't really see me crying.
I was going to say you're lying.
No, at home, I like to
sob. But in private,
yeah. That's my thing. Cry before I go to bed. It's lovely. It's really relaxing.
Shout out to my inside criers.
Right? Pew, 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 pew. Crying tears on my pillow.
That's a good tune.
Yeah, I know.
Crying tears on my pillow. Country song.
But that was cool. Yeah, I was crying my eyes out, and then I was like, right, we've done our crying now. This is how I talk to myself as well. I don't know if it's low-key crazy. I'm like, right now, time to get your shit together. So I switched up the music. I put on that song, Hands on Your Knees. Check that, that's on me. Let that coochie breathe.
Hey, for the listeners, I'm shaking my shoulders.
And we're shaking our shoulders. We're doing
my hands are on my knees right now. Hands on my knees. Hands on my knees. But shake your ass for Drake. Now shake your ass on me. Hey.
So I put that on, right? But I didn't go straight from crying to hands on my knees shaking. I was like, I'm still upset. But as the music went on, I was like, hands on my knees.
Hands on my knees. Hey. But that's the beauty of music, though.
God, I know.
Excuse me.
And I was thinking, if anyone's watching me right now, I'm literally twerking in my mirror, crying my eyes out. And I was like, this is healing, babes. This is what healing looks like.
But that is what it looks like.
I'm crying
It's
tears
being
of laughter.
unapologetically you. You're the emotional you. You're happy you. Like, it's all of that.
Yeah.
It's not just one thing. It's not single.
No, it's not. It's not. And in those moments, you do feel like, am I losing touch of reality right now? But afterwards, I felt so much better. Like, I got into it. Like, I was throwing it down in my living room.
You were sexy red.
I was.
Yeah,
then I switched to Lizzo. Lizzo's album, right?
It's good.
Is it
I'm Crying Because I Love You, that album?
Is that the name of it? The last one that came out?
The newest one. Yeah,
Special, I think.
Yeah, that song. Remember when we used to send that to each other? Damn.
Yeah. No,
I saw her live at Glastonbury. I cried real tears.
I think I would as well. I can't listen to it all the time. Sometimes it's a bit too poppy for me.
I hear it.
But that day, the words were speaking to me. I think, what was one of them? It goes, "Hi, motherfucker. I know you miss me."
We know they miss you.
No, I'm trying to. Which one's it called? I don't want to play it. But anyways, there's a.
I'm eating a broccoli. Just if you can hear me, if you hear me munching, because I'm eating, because we got jobs and sometimes.
That's fine. We multitasking. Basically, what I was trying to find was that there's a lyric that Lizzo says means I think she says, "I've been shaking my ass and making smoothies." I was like, that's what I be doing.
You're not only are you making smoothies, you're making like pancakes,
making everything.
You're
making cookies, everything.
Making brown stew.
Yeah.
You're doing the most. You're doing everything.
Yeah. No, you're right. While shaking my ass.
What?
Hands on your knees.
Hands on your knees.
Let that coochie breathe. Let the coochie breathe. Let the coochie breathe. Oh my gosh. What an iconic song. Gosh.
It is so good. When I hear it on the radio and I'm driving, I'm just like, hey, I roll the windows down. I don't care how cold it is because that song is lit.
No, it is. It is. They knew what they were doing.
Sexy Red is pregnant now. I don't know. Maybe she really had her hands on her knees.
Oh God. Let that coochie breathe.
I think I let it breathe with other things.
Oh my God. But yeah, that's pretty much summed up my week. And I'm pretty sure so the reason why I was telling you all that because I reached out to my lovely sister. Shout out to my sister. She likes to listen to the podcast. And she was like, I think she called me.
The middle sister.
The middle sister. Yeah, the middle sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, she reached out. I think she called me mid breakdown. So obviously I'm not going to answer the phone. And I'm very transparent. I was just like, yeah, sorry, I didn't answer the call. I was having my weekly breakdown. And she was like, oh, are you okay? Like, concerned. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm good now. And she's like, okay, good. Because like, I thought we weren't going to get a podcast next week. I was like, wow.
Let me text her after this. Let me text her and cuss her a little bit.
I was like, gee, thanks for caring about my well-being. She's like, I'm just checking that we're getting a podcast next week because like, you don't sound like you're okay. Girl.
I was okay until you text me, girl.
Right? So, yeah.
I think also it's funny that she texts you that because we have like a weekly schedule. And this week we couldn't stick to us because we were both in disarray.
That is a very accurate term to describe where we were at. Like,
life. We are in the 318th day of January. And so much has happened.
Yeah.
So much has happened that this week, and I said to you, I think I said to you today or last night, that this has been a really testing month and a really testing week. And this week, like, we couldn't even meet on our designated day.
No.
Because I was MIA. I was in a pit of despair.
Yeah. I was fighting for my life with these
You
kids.
were fighting for your life, shaking your ass, crying, laughing, shaking your ass.
Doing the school run in between, like.
I was like honestly, I felt like, I think I've referenced this before, but I felt like I was Usher, and Usher is doing confessions and he's crying for his life. And he's like, please take me back, but I'm not asking anyone to take me back. I'm just crying in the rain.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to burn for me to say this.
For no purpose. Yeah.
But yeah, that's where I was at. Because people disturb my peace, and I'm actually over that. Not cute.
But we're here now. A couple days later.
Started from the bottom, now we're here.
We're here. So today, we're supposed to be doing a book review.
Let God take control. What's it? Let God and let be.
Let go and let God, girl.
Hallelujah.
Let go and let God. Now, everybody turn your Bibles to Exodus chapter 15.
Hezekiah. The book is upside down. By the way, that was
For the people that can't see, Shay picked up her book upside down. I knew this bitch couldn't read.
She
be wearing glasses. She wears the glasses for the culture. So we're reviewing the book.
Allegedly.
Do you know what? These segments are for you, Chief Bookworm. I will follow your lead.
By the way, she's saying that because this bitch don't read. She's been reading the same book for months, maybe even over half a year. Easy.
I know. And I decided to come into a book club with you.
To the point where I've read 3 of the books that I'm now coming back. Like, when I'm reading it, I'm just reminding myself of the highlights that I've made. Not because I have to read it from scratch. It's because I'm like, oh, I read it over nearly a year ago.
Wow. And this book club would be nothing without you. Can I just say that?
Look at you trying to butter me up.
I'm here to support Shay's book review on The Will to Change.
To be honest, I think it's like a beautiful name for a book, or just for life. The Will to Change. I think in terms of like life, love, social change, like everything. I think the will to change is such a lovely like motto to have in life. It's really touching.
It is. Yeah. I mean, I think we'll do the book review in parts.
Because it's quite a lot to get into, isn't it?
It is. And I was thinking we could do like the first 6 or 7 chapters. I'm like halfway through the 7th chapter.
Okay, for context, there is 11 chapters.
Yes,
well
that's
done.
not bad.
Okay.
Not bad. It's not bad at all.
Not bad for 10 months. That's not bad.
Do you know what? Our listeners are going to witness my will to change and be better.
Come on.
And become a better reader. Okay.
Snap.
Okay. This is No, I have enjoyed like the first part of the book, but yeah, I did make some like brief notes as well. But if you want to take it away, girl.
I'm gonna start with reading the what do you call this bit here? The interlude. What do you call this?
Yeah, there is a word. It's not synopsis. Epilogue.
Is it epilogue?
I'm not
When you
sure.
read this.
Yeah, I'm just Googling what an epilogue is.
Okay.
An epilogue is a section or speech at the end of the book.
So it's the end. So what's the beginning? Because it's not the contents, because the contents are
I
like
think it's
chapter 1.
synopsis.
Synopsis I thought was for film. Sorry, the back of the book.
Oh, damn.
Wow, y'all are learning with us.
So Shay is going to read the little section at the beginning of a book.
The real beginning. Yeah. This book, when I see people reading this book on the tube, this and another book that we are going to review, I actually stop people. I go out my way and stop them going, how are you finding the book?
Oh, really?
I have done it 3 times.
Mm.
On the escalator, on the tube, we got off the same tube. I'll be like, at the same stop, I go, sorry, like, how are you finding the book? And then we have this massive chat, and it's so nice.
Oh, wow.
Because it is life-changing.
Yeah, yeah. I think I hope men are reading this book as well.
Any men out there reading this book, hit me up for a book review, obviously.
For a personal book review.
A one-to-one book review. I'm a high haters, girl. I'm one of high haters. It's me and my books.
The silence speaks 1,000 words.
Okay. Not the list. Okay.
Not the love. I've got my book open in Ephesians. Okay. I'm ready. Ephesians
not
chapter
Ephesians. 8. Is there even 7 books? 7 chapters in Ephesians. Chapter today. Open your books to Ephesians 7, verse 5. And the God himself said, "No, we're gonna get
stop it.
We're gonna get stricken down.
You will. I'll be like, God damn, she gone.
She would cry. Anyway, so I'm gonna read the front of the book that we don't know what it's called, and if you know what it is, just hit us up so we can like know and learn together. Cool, great. Okay, so The Will to Change: Men, Masculinity, and Love by Bell Hooks. In our rapidly changing society, we can count on only 2 things that will never change. What will never change is the will to change and the fear of change. It is the will to change that motivates us to seek help. It is the fear of change that motivates us to resist the very help we seek.
Damn. You know, I haven't read the first bit. I just went straight into reading the book. So
that is wild. You are not okay because I read every single bit.
No, I went straight to contents, the preface.
So you've never read that bit?
No, I missed that.
Really
that
hard
is so
hitting.
Deep. It is.
Yeah.
What will never change? Yeah. What will never change is the will to change and the fear of change. Damn.
And the will to change is what motivates us to seek help. So we wanted, this is really apt because we knew we needed change, and that was our motivation, was to seek help, right? Whether it was through each other or through therapy, through friendships, through classes or lessons, or anything that we changed in our lives. It could be singing, dancing, or whatever we do as society. But then where it says it is the fear of change that motivates us to resist the very help. We know a lot of people that are afraid of change. Oh,
should we listen?
That's a black mom right there.
No, it's the fear of change is it's a real thing.
It is
that we all have in us.
We do.
She didn't even write that. That was Harriet Lerner. The Dance of Intimacy.
The Dance of Intimacy.
This we're gonna have to do multiple reviews because we ain't even into the content of the book.
I know.
We're just in the little bit at the interlude
that we don't even know what it's called, but we're about it. So there are 11 chapters, and it goes into the preface, and it says, and it's titled about men. So I've made notes throughout the whole book, and I thought that maybe it would be more engaging if we kind of call out the bits that stood out mostly for us.
Mm-hmm.
because of course we're not going to like read every single page long. It's taken
not
you
all-
like 10 months to read 7 chapters.
I have reread the beginning of the book many times because I've had to recap.
Yeah.
But no, we're not going to do that. We're not audible today. So
Not today, one day. Watch out for
no.
us. So yeah, I mean, about men already, that's quite a captivating title, isn't it?
Mm.
You're like, what about men? Tell me about men, because I know about men.
Yeah, we think we do, but
We think we do. But there's a paragraph here that I highlighted, and it said militant feminism
can you
gave
give the
women
page?
permission.
Sorry, can you give the page so
Sorry,
if people are
page
following along?
XAA.
Okay.
That is XII.
Is that 12?
So you
Okay.
go to this about men
Mhm.
and you turn the page, and it's the page on your left hand side,
Yeah.
and it is maybe paragraph the one above before her death.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a militant feminism gave women permission to unleash their rage and hatred at men, but it did not allow us to talk about what it meant to love men in patriarchal culture, to know how we could express that love without fear of exploitation and oppression. I said, sorry, what, miss?
Say what now?
Yeah. That
Yeah,
really
no, it's
struck.
deep. Yeah. But it did not allow us to talk about what it meant to love men. That's the
Mm,
thing. I think that whole movement, it kind of, I don't know, it kind of made men like objects in a way. Like men are just these cruel beings that don't have
yeah.
feelings.
Yeah.
And when I was
Yeah.
reading this book, I was like, oh, men actually
I feel things.
like they have feelings and they
Yeah.
experience love the same way we do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do they? Nah, they don't.
Because enough of them have done us dirty, right? Like if you are heterosexual, like cisgender person who is heterosexual in mostly in heterosexual relationships,
Hmm.
this book, it goes into same-sex relationships as well. But this particular section is talking about what it is. Yeah, it doesn't it goes into like what, like a little bit like about feminism, and then about feminism. It's called militant feminism. So you're told that yeah, men are redundant of feelings and emotions, and you have to treat them in a certain way.
Mm.
And that was interesting because a lot of the time men act like they have no feelings.
Yeah, they do. In the way that they treat women.
No way,
So
yeah.
I guess you can't really blame us for thinking, okay, well, you wouldn't act like that if you had love in you,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, I agree.
But
And yeah, sorry, no, carry on.
no, I was just going to say, not all men are like that. I know there is a high proportion of men that are kind of abusive to women. But there are also really good men that don't do
Yeah.
any of that. And the bad men kind of tarnish the good ones.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's because when you are mostly raised and you are given this, this sort of sex at birth, like, oh, you're male, you're female, you are immediately raised completely differently.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, women are raised to be homemakers. They are raised to be emotional. They are the lovers, the carers, the nurturers. And men are the workers. They are steadfast, and they are the ones that are bringing home the bacon, and yeah, not showing high levels of emotion to their family, whether that's to their wives or their children. So if that's what you have growing up, the cycle continues.
Yeah.
and that's talking about, quote unquote, what they call traditional households of like a man and a woman, but it's just in terms of like upbringing. That's what our history has been, that men are like this and women are like this.
Mm.
It's
Men are just
acceptable.
the providers there.
Mm,
I think this is probably later on in the
mhm.
chapters, but it says like men are just not appreciated and loved for just being men. They have to prove their worth by
There
doing,
were, yeah.
by bringing home money or
Mm,
being protector. Whereas women can just receive love because we are.
yeah. Just because we are.
Yeah. And I think from a man's point of view, whereas I think most men, well, I can't speak for most men, but there are some men that are
Mm,
probably happy to provide and do all of that. But then I think there are some men that aren't happy doing that, but because
yeah.
the expectation is so high, and if they don't do it, society sees them as
Weak.
feminine or
Yeah.
weak.
But
Like,
this is
imagine how
it.
difficult
Being
that is.
feminine is a weakness.
That's the other thing. That's the other thing. Like people see the opposite of masculine as weak,
Yep.
and it's like no, they're strong in their own right.
And the fact if you can channel both, which we have talked about quite a few times, that when you have to be both masc and femme
Mm,
in your sort of day-to-day life,
mm-hmm.
you know, you've got to make the decisions. Like you're a single mom, so you're like, I don't have to have anyone to soundboard with and make decisions. I've got to make the decisions
Yeah,
as a whole for my whole family because there is only me.
yeah.
It's
I have to bring home the
accessing,
bacon.
yeah, yeah, and you're doing what is quote unquote called the soft skills of cooking and cuddling and teaching
Hmm.
them how to be a good person. As one person I dated before told me, you can teach the person how to be a good person because they're quote unquote soft skills that only, you know, weaker people can do because they're
Mm,
feminine traits. And but when a person who who identifies as a man and they're like, I'm going to be a man, and they have more maybe feminine traits, it is deemed weak. But
it
then it's like
is.
saying, well, then women are weak as well. It's just
Yeah,
it's a labyrinth, isn't it?
it is. And I thought it was interesting when she started talking about like homosexual
Mm,
relationships as well,
yeah,
and how homosexual, did she specifically say homosexual men? I think
hmm,
she did, yeah, continue the idea of patriarchy
yeah,
within their homosexual relationships. And I'm like,
yeah.
that's so interesting. And I do wonder if they realize that they're doing that.
It's really interesting to bring that up because I have a friend who has two friends who are two men in a relationship, a homosexual relationship, and one of the friends said that he believes that he has it worse. Um, we're getting into like a subsection that
Yeah,
he feels that
yeah.
he has it worse than Black people, and she kind of was like, and them as a trio are white people.
Yeah.
I mean, she told him about himself anyway. But this is kind of the reason why I bring this up is because it's you are still identifying as white male,
Yeah.
and yes, you are a white gay man,
Hmm.
and you have encountered and will encounter challenges,
Hmm.
and but you still benefit from the patriarchy
Yeah. 100%.
because society sees you first as a white man,
Yeah.
secondary as a gay man.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
Balhus is
interesting.
right with that.
Yeah. And I think even within their dynamic, they still mimic the
Mm,
whole dominant masculine position and the weaker feminine subordinate role within their relationship. Correct
mm.
me if I'm wrong, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
That someone will
I know what
always
you mean.
assume the masculine and then someone else might assume the feminine. Maybe not all the time,
Yeah,
but
maybe not all the time, but like in the book, that's
yeah.
what she
Yeah, yeah.
alludes. That's what she's referencing to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
No,
Yeah.
it's very interesting her take on patriarchy and how like mums as well, like not mums, yeah, mums, but like um females would kind of continue the idea of patriarchy within the home by supporting the dad to be this
Mm,
domineering man, and what's the word, chastising her
yeah.
children for going against that in any way. But it's like, but that whole system doesn't even benefit her as a woman, but she's still
No,
protecting it.
it's so true because like growing up, so for the listeners, I am one of two. I have an older brother, and we grew up for a lot of our formative years in South Africa. And yeah, my mom would literally be like, wait till daddy gets home. I'm telling daddy, like, da 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 da. And we'd be so scared, but she felt like she had the power by saying that. That was her power. But it wasn't
No.
at all.
Yeah.
That's like a nervous laugh. It's like, it actually wasn't her power.
Yeah.
She upheld that patriarchal system of actually giving the power to my dad. And he was the person who reprimanded us. He was the authoritarian in the house. And it was always like that. Bell hooks know what she's talking about.
She does. And when she talks about, I think she goes on to talk about single moms as well. And I was like,
she
girl.
gets into every single part of a human that you honestly think that she's talking directly to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's quite scary, actually.
Yeah. Because she even said, she mentioned about like single moms will probably be the worst at kind of maintaining the patriarchal system as well, because they now want their son to become the man of the house, which is so twisted in itself, because that's not his position. The man of the house is gone. Yeah. But she will put that pressure on her son to become this man and step into this role, because that's how society said things need to be. And through, I just think that's, it's crazy how it kind of is present within so many different dynamics. Like we've spoken about homosexual relationships, single parent homes, traditional nuclear family, like mum and dad homes. Like, it's present within all sorts.
In every dynamic, in every family dynamic. So there's, whilst you're doing that, I'm going to say that, like, pinpoint one of the sections where it says, where she says, like, men cannot change if there are no blueprints for change.
Can you give us the page number and everything?
Sorry, that is the preface XVAA.
Oh, we saw that. Okay.
Yeah, but I just thought it was that was really interesting, and it kind of goes back to that first section that we don't know what it's called.
Yeah. Can somebody call it and tell us?
Somebody tell us, please. Like, drop us a line, DM, text us if you know us directly. Like, email us. Do whatever you gotta do. Smoke signals, we'll take it.
Yeah, so we know for the next book review.
I have no idea. It's blank, so I don't know what to call that bit. It's completely blank in the page. There's no title.
No.
But yeah, it says, like, men cannot change if there's no blueprints for change, and that's, again, like I said, I feel there's some of the quotes in here that are quite important for a lot of things in life. Like, we can't change if we don't see change, but that doesn't mean that you can't be the change. So I'll use their example of what we just spoke about, of like single parent homes, that, okay, like, you are replacing the person or the man in your life, and you're using your son as the person to be the breadwinner, quote unquote breadwinner, that brings home the bacon, right? He's going to continue his whole life like that because he thinks, I am the top dog.
Yeah.
No change has happened whatsoever. So it then becomes, and this is what change is so important about, is that it becomes everyone's responsibility. Like, how can you create change if you know that, like, I'm just a product of my society, but you have to then become the blueprint, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool. I hear you, girl. And she's like, men cannot love if they are not taught the art of loving.
I was just looking at that. I had the page open. I was literally, my eyes were drawn to that.
Yeah, that was my highlighted, was like, men cannot change if there are no blueprints for change.
Yeah.
And men cannot love if they are not taught. And I want to get into love because I, having read like some books about love and change, and I do think that love is a choice. but
Mm-hmm.
it's also a verb. It's something that you do.
Mm-hmm.
In the way that you are, the way that you act, the way you show it, I do think it's a verb
Yeah.
and it is a
100%.
choice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if men cannot love because they're not taught the art of loving, it almost feels like that they've not been chosen, because if love is a choice, then you're saying you've not chosen me. So how do I ever know what it is to do the verb of loving someone?
Yeah.
You
I
know?
think the way they probably do, if they do experience love, I think they do it in a very doing way, saying a lot of
Yeah.
do's. But you know what I
It-
mean? Like their way of showing that they love a woman or whoever they're with is to physically do something. Because that's the only way that it's accepted.
Taking out the bins is a quote unquote like a masculine role, but guess
Yeah.
what? I can also do it if you didn't exist in my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like all these things that are again, quote unquote, these are, what's it, traditional nuclear family.
Mm-hmm.
These are all things that have been given to us. We can change the narrative. You don't need to show me love by doing things that society told you to do.
Yeah.
You can show me love by knowing me and knowing what it is.
Because that's the thing now, isn't it? Because obviously of the great feminist movement and everything, and women going into work, and now, you know, we're gaining a lot more economic power now. We can do all of those things that men used to do for us, that used to provide. Like, we can buy our own houses.
You.
Yeah, we actually don't. And this is
We
so,
want
we're not
you
being,
around.
yeah, we're not trying to be disrespectful, saying we don't need a man.
Yeah.
But we actually don't, guys. Like,
We don't.
we don't. We want you.
Yeah.
But like, I can pay for my own food, my own bills. I can take myself on holiday.
Been doing that.
Yeah. Like, what else can you provide?
Yeah.
One thing that I can't provide myself is emotional stability. So
I got you, girl. I got you.
if
got
somebody could
you.
provide that for me, that'd be
And
great.
she got me. We got each other. The blind leading the blind.
The blind leading the blind right into a brick wall. But but yeah, it's a more equal playing field now. So it's like, guys, you gotta come with a bit more. You gotta come with genuine, heartfelt love. You know, it's not enough to
And
just throw money at us.
But this is it. It's like if they were never shown it, how
Yeah.
do they know to do that?
How do they know how to give it?
In all relationships, in all of them, not only romantic ones, but ones that they have for their kids, for their siblings, their parents, their platonic relationships, their bros. They're like,
Mhm.
yeah, my ride or die. Like, how do you do that?
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's another one. So on chapter 1, like wanted men who love.
Yeah.
On page 1, it says the male bashing was so intense when contemporary feminism first surfaced more than 30 years ago, was in part the rageful cover-up for the shame that women felt, not because men refused to share their power, but because we could not seduce. What is this word? Cajole?
Cajole. I think it means
Who is he?
who is cajole?
Cajole, where you at? You better pay me my rent. Like,
I think cajole is like another word for seduce.
to
I
like
could be
entice.
wrong.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just confirming that because, you know, we ain't trying to look stupid. Yeah, persuade to do something.
Persuade. So
Yeah,
we could not seduce or
Cajole.
cajole
yeah.
or entice men to share their emotions, to love us.
Mm.
I feel like, oh, like women trying to do is find love, and men are like, nah, girl.
Yeah. Jam me out. Why y'all love each other?
You better love me up. Oh my god.
Oh dear.
Damn.
What else did you highlight in your? Because I feel like, because we are the same person, I've mentally highlighted the same bits that you've highlighted.
There's so much. I'm looking at it. I'm just like, there's actually so much. That
The
I've
whole book
highlighted.
is yellow.
Yeah. I wish you could see it, because I used a pencil. You can't see it because I use a pencil because I have like a a rubber in the end, so I rub it out when my line isn't straight enough.
Oh God, are you that person?
I am that person. I
Oh my
take this
goodness.
seriously. It's so interesting.
This is why you're chief bookworm.
Thank you. Was it BW? Chi? I said chi, not even
Yeah, you
C, and
did.
you
I
didn't
wasn't
even
even going to
notice.
correct you. I did notice, but I was like, let me just leave it. Let me not embarrass her.
I love you, girl. Thank you.
But it's CBW, okay?
Wow. Yeah, I got that when I corrected myself.
Yeah, CBW.
Okay. There's one here that says on page 2, no wonder then that girls and boys grow up angry with men, angry that they have been denied the love that they need to feel whole, worthy, accepted.
Ooh. What basically that if a man doesn't love them, they're not whole, worthy, or accepted. This is a big thing.
And I'm going to just bring this back to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because here it says girls and boys, and I want to note that yes, it's very binary. It's talking about very binary genders.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go on this page, not to say that I'm excluding other genders, but I would say people as a whole, you could easily grow up, being angry with men as a whole, because it says you are denied love and you don't feel whole, worthy, or accepted, because we're all seeking. And this is what you mentioned before, that she talks about same-sex relationships, that you're still seeking some sort of validation or love from some sort of male figure.
Yeah, I think she begins this same paragraph that we're just reading. Every female going back to page 1, every female wants to be loved by a male, and every woman wants to be loved and be loved by the males in her life. And whether we like it or not, whether we want to admit it, it's true. Everybody wants their daddy to love them. To
or their
start
brother,
with.
their
Or
granddad, their son, their
yeah.
uncle, whoever that figure is in their life, and whether gay or straight, bisexual or celibate, she wants to feel the love of father, grandfather, uncle, brother, or male or friend.
Just a man. I
Just
hear
a
it.
man. And that's why I was like, I'm gonna bring this back to us, because that is real. This is why we're here. This is why we are able to have these discussions, because of the journeys that we've been on in terms of finding love and feeling love, whether from a parent, like, a male parent, whether it is from past romantic relationships, a male sibling, a male friend, like it's all very relevant and very much relevant to us as well. And that's why this was so hard hitting reading that, because it's like, when you're like, we don't want to be like, we don't need no man, but it's true, you still seek love.
You do. You still want that love to make you feel complete. It's a hard thing to admit. It really is.
Because
on one hand, on one hand, I'm like, men ain't shit. And then the next bit, I'm like, my man.
Hey, but I'm not saying my man. I'm talking about you.
I'm a few people's men, Like I bought some flowers to my friend the other day because she wasn't having a good day. And she was like, you're like my boyfriend. I was like, girl, I'm too many people's boyfriends right now.
I'm not going to lie. I'm like your boyfriend too, girl.
No, you really are. Like, you be bringing me the most flowers and wine. And
you love flowers. Like,
I do. And everything else in between.
I got to give you your flowers, like literally and metaphorically.
Yeah. No, I'm here for it. I'm here for more girls being each other's boyfriends.
Look at us, we're growing, girl.
I know. Do you have any? I know we've been jumping around between the chapters, so for the listeners,
really well, actually.
I think you've been doing amazing. Like, hats off to you. Honestly,
she's saying that because she didn't make any notes whatsoever, and
girl,
I put notes in every single book.
I feel like, when you've had a presentation that you didn't prepare for at school.
This is you.
This is me.
You've been reading this for months, close to a year. Like, I'm not even lying.
But yeah, no, just to recap that we are just looking at between chapters 1 and 7 today. Just to
Let's be
remind
honest, it's not
people.
going to be 1 and 7, is it? Like, it's going to be like 1 and 2 at this
Well, we're not
rate.
going to go through everything
No.
in detail, but just like the concepts of the chapters. So we've already kind of spoken about chapter 1, chapter 2.
Yeah, if anyone's read this and they want to talk about it in more detail, because of course we don't want to just be talking one chapter for like 8 hours, but
Yeah,
if there is more, because I have so much highlighted as well, like please do reach out. I'd love to get into it more with you, whether it's like a voice note or message, an email, whatever. Like, yeah, I'd love to get into it.
yeah. I think that's a good thing to say actually, that like we want this to be like a community and
Yeah,
get people to, you know, interact with us. Like,
collaborative
yeah, we're just normal girls, you know, like we just want to connect with more people that
women,
are like us.
actually.
Oh, more men too. We don't mind then, okay? Who are on the same page as us.
You better be on the same page, and you better not be reading the page for 10 months like this hoe. Okay.
I'm working on it.
Okay, I'm proud of you, girl. Chapter 2. What is 2 in another language? Let's do another language. Chapter 2.
Dos. Okay. Well, chapter 2 is about
Chapter
understanding patriarchy, and I think we've
Yes.
kind of started speaking about that.
I like
with the whole
this one
patriarchy.
because it touches a little bit on, I guess, white supremacy as well. So at the bottom, the second paragraph where it begins with nothing.
Yeah.
If you go down like 5 lines, it says imperialist, white supremacist, capitalist, patriarchy. That is a whole quotation. Imperialist, white supremacist, capitalist, patriarchy. To describe the interlocking political systems that are the foundation of our nation's politics. And this is a moment we need to have, because a lot of the things of how we exist is a social construct that has been created by a white supremacist world.
Yeah.
Society, you know, so race is a construct, it's a social construct, like all of it is. So I highlighted this and I was just like, damn. And I had to like read it a couple of times because that whole line is like, sorry, what?
Yeah.
Are you still speaking English? I'm lost.
Yeah, imperialist, white supremacist, capitalist, patriarchy. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
This is when you think, am I reading politics? And then you're like, this is also what people of this nature want you to think, that, oh, this is a political issue. No, this is actually like, it's a societal, it's a human aspect. It's a cry for help, quote unquote, because it's like, this is why this exists. Patriarchy exists because they created this narrative of like men and women, breadwinner, homemaker.
Yeah.
And then because of that, okay, women are deemed more emotional. That's acceptable. But if men show any signs of emotion, they are weak.
They're weak.
And then that also says women are weak, because it's like, oh, but I show that emotion. So why is that okay for me to do it? Oh, because I'm weak. Side note, I think people who identify as women are actually probably like the strongest humans, especially when you are defiant in that. This is about y'all, men, but let's have our flowers right now. But I think when you are saying like, I'm a woman, and you make the decision to bring life, incredible.
Yeah, there's a lot of strength that takes.
It's a lot of strength. Like every man exists, every person exists because a woman brought you into this world for a start. We're here because of that, and the sacrifices. And I think about the women who have also sacrificed their lives for us to vote.
Yeah.
Vote.
I know. Not even do anything too mad. Just
that
vote.
is just
And
vote,
be able to work.
Let me put my ballot in a box.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Stop it. And this is why, like that particular line is just so, it made an impact on me because it made me realize how things, not just race, but like things like patriarchy is a social construct made by
Mm,
white supremacy.
yeah, and it's so embedded and deemed as so normal that
So
people don't even
normal.
see it anymore.
Mm,
They don't even see it.
no.
It's just, it is a way of life, and that's
You
that.
use the word patriarchy so easily without
Yeah.
realizing how interlinked it is with white supremacy
Mm,
and how these social constructs have made us live and breathe as we are today.
mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, Belle. She'd be ringing my bell. I was like, okay, girl.
She went in.
And this, and
Really
then if
had.
you go on page 18, she says, because patriarchal gender roles are assigned to us as children,
Mm-hmm.
and we are given continual guidance about the ways we can best fulfill these roles.
Yeah. She starts touching on the like religion side of it as well. And I know some of these topics
Mm,
can be a bit touchy, but you know, religion as well does kind of
mm.
reinforce
Yep.
that thinking as well.
Yeah. Again, something that we can talk quite at length to because we grew up
Mm-hmm.
in very religious households
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
the point where me in my mid 30s, I'm a single woman who gets asked regularly when I'm having kids,
Mm,
regularly when I'm getting married, you know? That is,
mm-hmm.
and that is because from a sort of church point of view as well, that this like you need somebody, like not only patriarchal, but it's like you need somebody to kind of, God will put you together.
Yes, yeah. Like it's almost like a woman cannot be single and be whole.
And
Like
happy.
unhappy. She can't be happy. She must be struggling. She must be in despair because she hasn't got a man. And it's like, I'm pretty sure there's some married women that are struggling in despair
In
with
despair.
their deadbeat husbands. There's a lot of single women, single parent women in
Mm,
marriages. And I
mm,
know some of them might be listening and be like,
mm.
oh yeah, that's me, that's me.
Damn.
And
Single parent. Girl, that was
honestly,
something. That was something.
honestly, you know, but like how church sees it, if you are unmarried, that means like you're like, I don't want to say damaged goods, but you're just not
Yeah.
worth anything. That's why no one's chosen you, is how they
Yeah.
see it.
And just to note, listeners, don't worry, we will be getting into a church episode.
Mm,
Don't you worry, we will. We have a lot to say about that actually.
yeah.
So if you think, get into it, girl, get into it, we will be getting
We
into
need to
it.
we need to do a hot episode on that. Pentecostal
Yeah.
church in particular.
Yeah. Yeah. Particularly, you're right, Pentecostal, West African or Afro-Caribbean
Yeah.
churches. Yeah. It's a lot.
We have trauma, guys.
Yeah.
We do. We have trauma from that
I'm like, let
because
me take my jumper off because like now I'm like nervous as if I'm in church again.
right? It's not
It's
okay. And like the
crazy.
whole, you could have seen patriarchy
Mm,
in
mm.
within the church.
Yeah.
So much so, like it was. Let's not go there.
This is
This is
but
about
when
bell
you
hooks and the
this
world's
is when you
change.
say though, like she touches on church. She says like at church they had learned that God created man to rule the world.
Yeah,
That's already giving power to men, right?
yeah,
Already. Not only power, but like pressure.
yeah. But you got to rule the world.
You want to rule the world.
These men are
So
like, I'm just trying to put on my boxes in the morning, but I got to rule the world.
I just want to make sure my socks match.
Yeah, scratch my balls.
Scratch my butt when no one's watching.
I got to rule the
Hey, I'm just trying to
world.
make it for the day, God. So already you're like, boom, here's this
Yeah.
pressure, this workload that that have been bestowed onto you.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't ask for this, but I've got to do it because that's what it is to be a man.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? I hate when people are like, yeah, like that's a man's thing, or like I hate that. And I'm like, what is a man though? What is it? What is it? Let's get into it.
Mm,
What is it?
mm. It's true, because when you say that, I'm like, well, a man is like strong, and all the stereotypical things that we
Yeah,
say.
but we are strong,
We are
Natalie. Like we
strong as
are
well.
strong. And there's like, oh, a man opens a door. I will open the door for you.
Mm.
It's this skewed view of what a man should be, but can we not just say what a human should be?
I hear it. The thing is, I'm so on the fence, because you know me, girl. I'm
I
so
know
like
you are.
traditional, and I'm like,
Mm,
I almost like I'm probably even contributing to maintaining the system, but it's like
mm,
I can't see another way where I'd feel comfortable. Like, I
yeah.
like my man to be, when I say strong, I mean like physically strong, and
Mm,
have a presence that I feel protected. Not because
yeah.
I'm weak, because I know I'm strong, but I just want to feel that there is someone
Yeah.
stronger
Yeah.
there to
I think
protect
that
me.
I think that comes back to our sort of um I'm sort of the word I'm lost for the word, but that feeling of like, cave like instincts of like men would go
Oh,
out and like
like
hunt.
primal,
Yeah,
primal
thank you.
instincts.
Like they would be the hunters,
Yeah,
and women would be at home, quote unquote home, is how that view is, perceived. So it's like
yeah,
if you're saying I want him to look physically strong or be physically strong, not strong like strong. You're just saying 6 foot,
mm,
presents in a certain way.
yeah.
But that doesn't mean I don't want him to be soft,
No, see, that's the thing, because I also want him to be like emotionally aware,
available. Yeah. Mm,
available, and that's me asking him to have stereotypical feminine traits
yeah. And
as
this is
well.
why this book is good for people
Yeah, yeah.
who
It's really
have these.
interesting. It's like, I feel like it's really challenging how I view things and the things that I
Yeah.
accept.
But this is why I think this book is so interesting, because it's saying like you can have all of these things, but then also allow your partner, your male partner, your male friend, your granddad, uncle, brother, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
whoever they are in your life, allow them to also have these traits that allow them to feel love and to learn
Yeah.
love.
Mm-hmm.
Because masculinity isn't about just presenting and showing these quote unquote mask traits, but
Mm,
also feeling love and showing love. I
mm,
would say growing up, my dad, who was probably the one who told me he loved me more than my mom,
mm-hmm.
he is very open with that. He says it still today. He's very much a loving man.
Mm-hmm.
And just because he says it verbally doesn't mean like I am super fulfilled, of course, but
Mm,
it was something that I grew up with, it being very normal,
mm-hmm.
actually. It was very normal for me um, to hear a man in my life tell me that he loved me.
Which is
Um,
interesting, because that's completely different to my experience, where
mm,
I've never heard my dad say to anyone, especially
yeah,
me, that I love you.
yeah,
I never showed that emotion and was the violent
mm,
man
yeah.
in the home. But he probably thought he was adopting the stereotypical masculine
There we
role,
go.
where he had to
Yeah,
assert his authority.
yeah.
So I think it's very interesting that we've got two opposite dads, but we're the
And we
same.
always said that. We always
Yeah,
said that. Like as kids, we were like, "What the fuck?" Oop. Yeah, we can curse,
we
girl. How
can.
about
This is
it?
our podcast. You can say that word.
For a minute, I was like, "Am I being interviewed?" Yeah, by my best friend. I can
Yes,
curse.
we own this. Okay.
I own 51% of this company.
50-50, girl.
Oh yeah, sorry, 49 and a half.
Wow.
Actually, you have to earn more because I'm gonna die
Why?
first anyway. So,
Oh, stop this. Carry on with your story, girl.
but it brings me back to that the beginning where it says that, you know, men cannot change if they haven't, like, they are not the blueprint of change, and they've not seen change. They don't, how do they love if they don't know what the art of loving is? And I always remember my dad said to me that he wanted to be a better dad than his dad was. And I think he really did try to show up. Although there were also a lot of factors limiting him, and that was, it's weird. It's like limiting him, but also giving him opportunity. But it was his faith. It's like he's so invested in that. And then on the flip side, for you, it was the opposite.
Yeah.
So we experienced like completely different loves from the first people. I always say your parents are your first loves of your lives.
Yeah.
You grow up with these two adults who you think are superheroes. And in our generation, a lot, not everyone, but a lot, are raised by your traditional nuclear family of like male and female.
Yeah.
And if you are raised in a single house home, parent home, usually the primary caregiver is your mum. But when we think of people like Candice Brathwaite, that like she grew up with her granddad being her male anchor. And she speaks so fondly of him, like even in her one of her books, she speaks really fondly of him. So there's always somebody.
Yeah.
There's always somebody in your life that is going to be a male sort of example
Figure.
of what love, figure, thank you, of what love should be like.
I don't feel like I had that though.
I hear it.
I don't feel like I have.
Did,
I don't have a single male in my life where I feel safe with.
I don't think
like that hasn't been a romantic partner.
No, because you like, we're thinking now of like, you know, a sibling. We know you don't have any male siblings.
Don't have any, yeah. My uncle's not that close.
Not that close, yeah.
And my dad. And there was no one that kind of stepped in to that role. There was no like men in the church, like no one.
Nobody.
And I do look back and I'm just like, that poor little girl, you know, like there were adults around, there were men around who saw
no one
that
assumed the role.
Yeah. Who saw that this little girl did not have her dad in her life, and no one stepped forward. And I'm just like, I feel so sorry for that little girl, you know, because there were people there that should have. And it's not me pointing fingers. I know people have their own life, but it is a real shame. And to this day, I still don't have that. I would say I will adopt your dad.
You've been saying that.
I know, I'll take your dad.
You've been saying that. I was gonna say, like, remember when we were kids, you're like, I love your dad. I'm like, he is.
You're like, he's so annoying. I'm like,
I get the biggest ass whipping of my life. Like, it's like, I want to swap so I can just chill for a bit, because that man can give a beating.
Well,
so I'm just saying, he can give a beating. I remember you saying that, and I love that. I really loved that there was a moment in your life where you're like, oh, this is so nice.
Yeah, it was yeah, like for me to see that, oh my God, a man actually acts like that, like a dad, a loving dad, kind of gave me hope that there are men, like good men out there, because I wasn't seeing it in the way that I should have been seeing it.
And this is like, if we are talking from our point of view, so imagine if you grew up as a boy. You had, your mom, so you already, and also for like the listeners, you identify as a cis woman in a like heterosexual relationships. So you grew up like with your mom. But if you were a boy and you grew up with no like sort of father figure, as we mentioned before, dad, uncle, etc., then you have the single parent home of the mom putting that pressure then onto the son, as Bell Hooks talks about.
Yeah.
And then, so it's just like flipping it the other way, that you would be this boy growing up with no sort of fatherly figure in their life, not knowing what love is. And it's not saying like, oh, you grew up and you're like, yeah, I completed it, I know what love is.
Yeah.
But the cycle continues, right? And it's like, he doesn't know what it is either. And he
Until
could
he
be the
has-
blueprint for change, but he was like, what is that? What does
That's
that look
true.
like?
Yeah.
What is that?
But no, yeah, being a boy, boys are not seen as lovable in this culture.
Yeah.
And they're not. They're seen as like the rough and tumble, like,
They
you know,
are
boys will be boys. And
boys.
what does that
They just
mean?
say, what does that mean?
It means what? That they're going to be chaotic and aggressive and violent.
Yep.
That's not okay.
So unacceptable.
It's someone, you're acting barbaric. It's not okay.
It's actually not okay, and it's really harmful to society. It's harmful to women.
Yeah.
It's
Boys will be
harmful
boys.
to relationships that you keep and want to keep in the future. It's just like boys will be boys. What does that mean? Also, can we like change the narrative to boys will be boys? Like boys will be lovable, boys will be soft, they'll be kind, boys will be caring. Like because boys will be boys right now is very much like, oh
Yeah.
I eat meat.
Yeah. And I think that's, we didn't mention it before, but Bell Hooks mentions that the only emotion that's acceptable for men to show is anger.
Anger. Yeah.
If we see anything else from a man,
you're like, that's my man.
yeah, we're like, it's not a man.
That's my
Take
boy.
away his man card.
Yep.
You know? And then we wonder why these men then become increasingly more and more angry, starting getting more and more violent, you know, becoming sexual offenders or, you know, domestic abuse in the household, all of that stuff, because we only let them
as an emotion
display their anger.
You're right. She says that. You're right. You're right.
A bit hot. I was getting angry. See, women, we're allowed to show all of our emotions.
Yeah. But if we do, it's like, oh, she's emotional.
Yeah, she's doing too much.
Like, we're not going to promote her because she's too emotional. This is where, you know, you have the disparity, because if you show that emotion as a woman, it's like, oh, you're over emotional. There's too much going on. You can't handle the heat. But if men show some level of like that emotion, it's like he's passionate.
Yeah. Yeah.
But outside of that work life, but you know, if it is anger, it's acceptable. It is acceptable. When a woman is angry, it's bitchy, but when a man is angry, it's like, yeah, he's strong, he's firm.
Yeah, he's assertive.
That's it. Men, masculinity, and love. And then actually, this is a question for you then, Natty B, because previously you said that, you know, you want your male partner to be strong.
Yeah.
But you're not willing to have anger as the only emotional trait. So are you like accepting that? Because this is like what she talks about is like, you know, men and masculinity. It's like, oh, the only emotion we are accepting is anger. Because we want our men to be soft as well as.
Yeah, but I think where I'm at the moment, I'm just being completely transparent, is that yes, I want my man to be soft, but I probably, honestly speaking, want him to be more angry in a way.
That's interesting. Do you think that has anything to do, or anything or everything to do with how you grew up?
Probably. And like, yeah, probably. The first example that I had of a man was, you know, my dad being quite aggressive and violent. And I guess deep down in my subconscious, I'm like, yeah, that's what a man is. And maybe that's why not that I want a man to abuse me, God no, but like, I think I've even said it to you before, that I need him to be firm with me. I need him to be like,
you have,
like, stop acting out. You need to, I like that in a weird way to make me feel safe. I don't think that's right necessarily.
Yeah. But it's kind of what works in your head at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, it's interesting because like I was just talking about, the only thing we accept from men is their anger. And I do the same thing.
It is interesting because if I am dating man, whether cis or trans or assigned male at birth,
Mm-hmm.
or a partner in general, like, but I know we're talking about sort of the male like gaze.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, be nice to me. I'm like,
Mm.
and then I do think about, you know, like childhood, just as I asked you the question, is it because like you
Mm.
think that your first experience with a male figure in your life was quite tumultuous? And I think, well, in mine, it was my dad being quite like softening, but then
Mm.
also on the other hand, I'm very accepting of some forms of volatility, and I think that's also due
Mm.
to like getting my ass whipped as a child.
Mm.
So it's finding a balance. But
Yeah.
what I don't want is this like firmness, this harshness, because I can't respond well to that.
Mm.
I respond
Whereas,
in a way of like what felt like you're going to reprimand me, which is what happens as a child when you're about to get your ass whipped,
yeah, yeah. I mean,
you know?
I didn't have that experience, which is
Yeah.
weird. I didn't have
Which
that
is
experience at
weird.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a violent dad, but not towards me. Like,
Mm,
yeah, so I don't, he wasn't loving in any way, but I wasn't reprimanded. So
yeah.
it's a weird dynamic for
It
me.
is. I remember my therapist saying that it is very confusing for a child to grow up in a household where whichever parent it is saying all these like sort of self-affirming things like I love you, you're doing really well, I'm proud of you, but the
Hmm.
same parent who's saying those things are also the parent that's dishing out the whippings and the
Yeah.
beatings.
Hmm.
And I didn't know, and I think it's quite common in African households to get beat, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is almost a form of love as well,
I
really,
was gonna
as
say it is
toxic
teaching
as
you that love is pain.
it's and yes, but also no.
No, yeah. It's not. It shouldn't.
It shouldn't have to be like, I thought love is patient and love is kind.
That's
It
what it
is
says in
not
the books.
boastful, you know? It can be painful, but it can also be loving.
It
It
shouldn't
can
be
be
painful.
painful. I think it's painful because you lost somebody,
Okay, yeah.
you
In that
know?
sense, yeah.
In that sense, yeah, but it shouldn't be the love that you have with somebody. It shouldn't be like, I've said to you before that I feel like this is one of the truest form of love that I've ever experienced, is the love that I have with you. It's one of the
Mhm.
safest relationships that I've ever had and have
Mhm.
experienced, where I can be unapologetically myself and you don't judge me
No,
and you
not at
love
all.
me
Mhm.
regardless of how silly or sad or happy or mad, like all of these inclinations, you just are like, yeah, yeah, girl, I got you.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm like, wow. So if this is true love and this is what a soulmate looks like, then it's possible
Mhm.
and it shouldn't be pain. But then if you're growing up in a household like where, again, probably in a lot of more African households,
Yeah.
getting beat is I'm doing this because I love you. And then my dad used to say that to us, and my brother can, you know, maybe one day we'll have him on. He can say like, yeah, we used to beat, and then he would come in our rooms after and say, I'm only, you know, why I only did this because I love you. And my
Yeah.
therapist would be like, that's confusing. But that
Mm.
is the role that he is assumed in society, that he is the disciplinarian.
Yeah, because if he took the other approach and sat down and talked to you about your feelings, then he will probably turn around, maybe his brothers or whatever would be like, "What are you doing? Beat
Yeah,
those
you gotta
kids.
beat them. Yeah.
Why are you talking about your feelings? Be that man."
Yeah.
You know,
And
and
he
he's like,
tried to do both of those roles. I'm gonna beat you. I'm
mm,
gonna come into your room after.
yeah.
He would be like, I only did it because I loved you. And that is
Mm.
confusing.
And that's probably the conflict that he was experiencing
He
in
was
his mind.
it was like guilt. He was like,
Yeah.
I just be my kid. I don't want to be my kid, but I feel like I have to be my kid. It's a societal thing, it's a generational thing, it's a culture thing.
Mhm.
I don't think he's having that thought process. We have that thought process because we are
Yeah.
millennials.
Yeah.
And it's
But
just like, okay.
subconsciously, sorry.
Yeah. Subconsciously, that's what's happening.
Mm.
So chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is a lot about like what it is to love as a man, what it is to love a man. Also, it's talking about violence in terms of accepting violence from male counterparts. Like, oh, if a man fights, he's hard, he's strong.
Mm-hmm.
But also, as we said previously, talking about being the disciplinarian and also accepting and assuming that role within a family dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
One of the chapters, chapter 5, is called Male Sexual Being. And I think that one is really interesting because we don't often, okay, let me rephrase that. We do talk about men in a sexual way, of course, but what we don't realize is that how we talk about them can be impactful or hurtful to their masculinity without them then showing it, because they're not able to show it because, as we learned through the book, showing their emotions in that way. So it's like sex will provide. So sorry, chapter 5, page 75. Sex will provide them with a sense of being alive, connected. That sex will offer closeness, intimacy, pleasure. And more often than not, simply does not deliver the goods. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's a short-term fix, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And more. So this is, and this is it. It's like, oh, this, I'm going to get this and I'm going to feel good. And then that's that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you feel shit.
Yeah. Because, and then you keep going back because it's not fulfilling you.
It's not. And then she goes to say, this fact does not lead men to cease obsessing about sex. It intensifies their lust and their longing because it is a short-term fix. So this chapter I found really interesting, and probably like, if you're somebody who is like, I don't like taking it's like, don't read it, but also read it, like fix yourself up, read it, because it really sort of opens up this kind of worms of how men see sex versus how women see sex. Men might not admit that they see it as a form of intimacy. Women more so are likely to admit it. Men don't. They think it's like a dine and dash situation.
Yeah.
Right? That's what they say.
That's what they say, because they're not allowing themselves to open up to that intimacy side of it, are they?
Right? They're not.
Yeah.
They're really not. So, and also it's more acceptable for men to talk about the sexual partners they've had with their bros. But when women do it, we already know this. But the point I'm trying to make is that they also do it because they get validation from their male peers.
Yeah.
It says here on page 77, people still believe that sex is something men have to have. So it's like, oh, they're just doing it to do it. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I used to think that I'm like, they're just doing it because they want to be like, well, we can do it because we can. And I think they do.
Just to validate themselves. Like, I still got it. I can get girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're not doing it in the same way. But this all comes back to the beginning, where how do they know what love is if they're not taught the art of loving? Because women are taught what it is to love in a different way, and how to show intimacy and how to show emotion in a different way that men is. And this is what this book fundamentally, like as like a whole, this book is really showing and talking about how men are not taught the same rules, quote unquote rules, as women are, or boys are not taught the same rules of love and intimacy and kindness and willingness and openness.
Mm.
as girls are. Whether you are questioning your sex or not,
Mm-hmm.
how society deems you is how you will be treated. Unfortunately, that's how it is. That's how it is. So for you and I today, as people who, like, I'm a woman, I can say it's true. We've had completely different lessons. And having grown up with a brother, we have had completely different lessons in love
Yeah.
and how we are deemed in society.
Mm.
So I would say that's in a nutshell. That's chapters 1 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to do a couple more chapters another day.
Yeah. I think, yeah, it's been a lot that we've got into and discussed. And I mean, I feel like from those topics that we've discussed, we could branch off and do podcasts on those topics as
Oh my
well.
gosh, we could.
But I think what we'll do, because this will be an extremely long podcast, we'll come back again and we will do the last part of the book
Yeah.
as well and wrap all that up. But
Yeah.
yeah, thank you so much for the book review, Shay. Thank you so much.
For the listeners, I've read almost all the books that we said that we were going to read, and I think you've read one.
Have you read
them
all
that
of
you've
them?
suggested. I've
No, but the thing
read
is, I've read the other ones because some of them are
You've
my
read
suggestions.
the other suggestions are 2 books, by the way. You've read 2 of the books, but out of like the 6, which is really funny.
I read books.
I
Okay?
appreciate you. No, by the way, don't forget that you don't need to just read it. You can listen to them, which is
Yeah.
a really nice way if you're going for a walk as well. You know, you have access to audiobooks, and I would encourage that if you're finding reading quite too much. It's quite
Yeah.
nice to be read to. For anyone listening, I like to be read to. So if you're a contender for my life,
That's a
read to
second
me.
call for, a potential.
No, I really don't. I don't. My sister-in-law with me this week, and she said, maybe this year you're gonna have a partner. I said, girl, I don't want one.
Well, usually that's when they turn up. I know it's so cliche, but it's true. When you stop looking, that's when they turn up.
No, I'm gonna turn it up for what?
Turn down for what?
That was a tune. I'm not gonna lie.
That was.
But
yeah.
thank you everybody for listening. I please do reach out. Like, I know it's our first book review. Part 2 soon come, but I hope
Yeah,
you've
and any
enjoyed it as much as we
suggestions
have.
on formats of book reviews that you guys might
Yeah.
prefer?
Yeah.
Do you like in-depth chapter by chapter? Do you just want to overall summary? Let us know, because we've read the books, well, part of the books for some of us, but we're doing the review for you guys. Yeah, so we want to do it in a way that you're going to receive it the best.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
We
So get in contact. And
we are an open book.
We are the most open book ever, probably too open at times.
Too open. Ask us anything. Maybe we'll do a session where ask us anything.
Oh, we could, couldn't we?
Yeah.
You can do that on Instagram. Just like ask us something.
Yeah, I'll do that.
And we have to answer.
All out. For the listeners, Nelly is popping her little chicken neck.
I forget that they can't see us.
I know. I wish
pout.
they could, because our faces really be doing something sometimes.
Our face be saying 1,000 words.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you're not already, go and follow us over at the BB_club on Instagram. Yeah, give us a follow, give us a couple likes, give us some comments. We would much appreciate that. So we're gonna wrap it up here. We're gonna say goodbye. Yeah, and wrap it up in every single way, girls. Stay protected. And and we'll see you, we'll listen to you, we'll hear you, and connect with you next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.